Good evening, guys. Really a pleasure you guys allowing me to speak to you today. Now, the presentation is going to go in 3 parts. I talk fast and I move fast, and we're going to go very quickly through this. You're going to have questions, that's okay. Just raise your hand, just yell them out. So it's going to go in 3 parts. First and foremost, we're going to look at active shooter events, history of active shooter events. Why do we look at different events from the past? We learn from our mistakes, we learn from the past. We're not passing blame, but we can pick up techniques. The second part of the demonstration is I'm going to show you guys, when I say you guys, it means unarmed civilians, techniques that are documented, that work, that you can use. God forbid you were ever in an active shooter incident that can save your life. And then the last part is we're going to try to raise some pulses, and we're going to do some hands-on training. We're going to pick to select people to do that, all right? But again, we're going to try to raise some pulses and get it active here, okay? So again, if you have any questions, just go ahead and yell them out. We're going to start with a video. Let's warn you, during this presentation, there will be some videos of depictions of shootings, and there will be one shooting. It's not too gory, but that's why we put on the flyer, parental discretion is advised. All right, so let's begin with the video. All right, so the slide behind me, okay, is going to show you active shooter events in the U.S. over the last 18 years. You can see the blips. So they're going to fill the different states. All right? See if the slide is working as well. Now I'm going to give you some quick stats. In the last 18 years, we have close to over 300 active shooter events. The deadliest were 2017, where we had 30 incidents in 1 year. The second deadliest year is 2018. Okay, and we're still gathering stats, obviously, for 2019. Again, over 300 incidents, close to 1,000 people dead, and 2,500 casualties when you look at people that are injured. Now, I'm telling you about all 50 states. How about Florida? You think we've had active shooter incidents in Florida? Yes. Okay, I'll give you some stats. In 2017, we were tied for number 2 behind California. In 2018, we were number 2 by ourselves, only behind Texas. Florida also has the distinction of having the second deadliest mass shooting ever, Pulse nightclub, where 50 people died. You guys remember that in Orlando? Okay, and also has the deadliest high school shooting in our nation's history, which is only about 30 miles from here in Parkland, Florida. That's the state of Florida. Now, how about 2019? 2019, we are on a record pace to actually be over 30. It's the first time in the last 18 years where we had 2 active shooter incidents in less than 24 hours. You guys remember the Walmart shooting in El Paso, Texas? And then less than 24 hours later, there was another shooting in Ohio where I think 9 people were killed. The moral of what I'm trying to tell you is active shooter incidents are on the rise, more than 20 to 25 every year. We'll talk about why that is. Anybody heard of the book called The Art of War? It was written by Sun Tzu. He's a military tactician. Now, it was written about 300 BC, and yes, it applies to how you engage in war, but it's a book that is mandatory reading in many of our Fortune 500 companies. It's mandatory reading in our naval academies. And yes, Sun Tzu talks about how you engage in war, and he basically has a lot of advice throughout the book. But his advice applies wherever you have 2 entities competing for something. 2 armies on a battlefield, his advice applies. 2 basketball teams on a court, his advice applies. You competing against an active shooter, his advice applies. Now, when you're competing against an active shooter, what are you competing for? What is the prize? Your life, right? He wants to take it, and you want to keep it. So his advice applies. I'm going to be quoting him throughout. Let's start with the first quote. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Victorious warriors win first, then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. What do you think that means? Anybody? Anybody? Take a shot at it. Don't mind the pun. Okay, anybody?
It's mental.
Mental, okay. Okay, you're talking about, your mindset, but what is he trying to tell us?
Preparation.
That's it right there. Victorious warriors, you want to be a victorious warrior, you win first. What does he mean by that? You prepare. You put yourself in that situation. Defeated warriors wait till they're in the situation to then try to seek to win. They wait till they find themselves at war to then try to come up with techniques, with tactics. It's too late. You're already in battle. You're a defeated warrior. You win first. You win before it begins. You win with a mindset. You win with training. You win with having a plan. Again, I'm going to quote them throughout. Now let's quickly talk about what an active shooter means. Active shooter is someone, I'm going to keep layman's term, going around trying to kill as many people as quickly as possible. That is the motive. Folks, I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to use words like kill, shoot, and die because that is what we're talking about. You're trying to kill as many people as quickly as possible. We won't talk about motives. Motives does not matter. I'm going to give you guys a stat. In close to 80% of active shooter incidents, two entities decide when the violence stops. You or the active shooter. Law enforcement, we make a difference 17% of the time. It's either you or the active shooter. Now, the trend is slightly changing where officers are now starting to get there a little faster. Active shooters are now starting to engage officers, but historically, you or the active shooter decide when the violence stops. When I give you a stat, it comes from a 18-year study conducted by the FBI. It's called the History of Active Shooter Events in the US. If you guys want to look that up later, it has a lot of stats. So now we're going to go through quickly through some events. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Again, we go through these to lessons learned. We're not passing any blame, but what have we learned from all these incidents that have occurred? Okay, welcome to It Can Never Happen Here, USA. I'm going to try. All right. What we got? So, anybody ever watch news footage after there is a critical incident, right? And they usually put the camera in front of someone, usually it's an elderly person. What is it they always say to the camera? Right? That's it right there. I cannot believe this happened here. I was going to show you a video from just happened earlier this year in Virginia Beach, where I finally found it on camera where they give a microphone to a young lady. She goes, you see this happen around the country and you never think it's going to happen to you. And when it happens to you, you keep telling yourself, I can't believe this is happening. One of my goals here today is not to scare you, but it's to shape that mentality that it always happens someplace else. Guys, when I told you in all 50 states of Florida, number two, okay, deadliest high school shooting, unfortunately, it's not a question of when an active shooter is going to occur or shooting, it's just a matter of where, okay? You have to shake this mentality that it always happens someplace else. Hoping is not a good strategy. We have to be prepared. So, who can tell me the first documented active shooter incident in the U.S.?
Columbine?
Right, everybody thinks Columbine, okay? We'll talk about Columbine. Let's go. Now I'm going to go through this very quickly. 1966, a Marine suffering from mental illness goes to the University of Texas, the tower. He is climbing up the stairs with a rifle. He is seen by 3 people going up the stairs. Seen with the rifle, they later tell police they thought he was going to go up to shoot pigeons. They told no one, they warned no one. You have to think. Different era. I think we would act differently now, right? We have that old adage, if you see something,
Say something.
right? And that way law enforcement can do something. And even then, most recent tragic events like in Parkland, people saw something, people said something, and law enforcement, we dropped the ball, didn't do anything. You guys remember Parkland about how the FBI received criticism? But so this guy goes up to the tower and for the next 80-something minutes, shoots 16 people and wounds more than 30 from a sniper position. Got 3 officers that finally storm the tower and kill him. Now, 30 years later, Columbine, when I went to the police academy, which is around this time, I did not receive active shooter training. The word active shooter did not exist. This incident coined the phrase active shooter. This morning, the morning of this incident, 2 high school students go to school and they begin to shoot. There was a police officer actually in the parking lot when this began to happen. A lot of people don't know this. Exchanged gunfire with one of the gunmen. The gunman now goes into the school and the police officer did what he was trained, what I was trained in the police academy. When you have something like this happen, you do the 4 C's. You surround the place, right? You call for backup, you coordinate backup, you call for backup, and lastly, when all goes wrong, you call SWAT. Well, cops waited outside for about 40 minutes while these high school students went and shot and killed 13 of their classmates, right? Change our tactics for cops forever. We realize, hey man, we can't just sit around and wait for SWAT. We have now what we call rapid action tactics. Our tactics have again changed since Parkland, where now we emphasize, usually officers wait for backup. Now if you're there by yourself, you do not wait, you go. You guys remember the scrutiny that Deputy Peterson received, right, for waiting or what have you. In fact, we as an agency rewrote our policy where it is mentioned 5 times with zero ambiguity, and there's no misunderstanding. If you're there by yourself and an active shooter happens, it said you will go in. You are mandated. It is mandated. It said 5 times so that there is no misunderstanding. Now, these 2 guys committed suicide. Now, we're going to go to Virginia Tech. And I'm going to give you some lessons learned here. Guy suffers from mental illness, goes to the University of Virginia Tech, and begins to shoot. Lessons learned here. Playing dead during a shooting is not going to save you. The shooter actually went to people lying on the ground and was shooting them. Another thing that happened here, the guy doubled back. So just because he left doesn't mean he can't come back. Another thing that we learned here, sometimes jumping from a 2nd and 3rd story window is your only option, but it will save your life. Like it saved the lives of 23 students, okay, in this incident. We'll talk about evacuation tactics. Now I'm going to point you right here to this 28 verses 2. What does that mean? During this incident, 30 people engaged in the tactics or techniques we're going to cover in the second half of this presentation. 30 people. 28 survived, 2 did not. Okay, another thing we learned here, this guy, he closed and chained the doors of the university so police couldn't get in. Now our police officers, our supervisors carry breaching equipment just in case we have to get through doors. So lessons learned. Now, we've had shootings in military bases, actually twice in Fort Hood. Guys, Sandy Hook, and I'm going to talk about this one for a little bit. Columbine changed the way law enforcement viewed active shooter incidents. This changed the way society viewed active shooter incidents, because till then, none of you or anyone would have thought that someone would be sick enough to shoot 20 kids under the age of 7. Okay, shoot and kill 20 kids under the age of 7. Now, again, 26 people died, and I will say one more time, 20 of them were under the age of 7. So, this guy suffered from mental illness, goes to the school, shoots himself through glass door in the school. The administrator in the front office ducks behind the desk, sees the boots go by. Lessons learned. The teachers heard all the shooting, and you guys know in elementary schools the bathroom is inside the classrooms, right? Because they're small children. So the shooter goes into the first classroom. Classroom is empty. Sees a door. It was the bathroom where the teacher had hidden the students. He goes into the bathroom and begins to shoot all the little kids and the teacher. And the average distance in an active shooter incident, sorry, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, is 1 to 3 feet, okay? But think about that mentality. We'll talk about that later. 20 kids died. Lessons learned. No one is immune. In fact, classes like this began because of this incident. Because everyone thought, well, shootings, they happen at universities and high schools, not in elementary school. Well, guess what? They actually have. No one is immune. The movie Batman, I forgot which one, comes out in Colorado. You guys remember this? The shooting in the Colorado movie theater? Okay? Lessons learned. So the guy, the movie starts, everybody's watching the movie. He gets up, goes outside, grabs a rifle, comes inside and begins to shoot, throws some smoke grenades. Guess what do you think the people in the theater thought it was initially?
Special effects.
Right? Like, man, they're really amping this movie up in this theater. And they're thinking this is play acting. No, there was a real shooting going on. Now, in the first 90 seconds, more than 30 people were shot during this incident. There's video where they show the subject having a malfunction and messing with his malfunction for about close to a minute. What do you think people who were sitting in their seats were doing while he was doing this? They were just sitting in their seats. Some of them were ducking, but many of them were just sitting in their seats. There's a video actually also there's a concession stand. You have 2 juveniles working the concession stand. Now the way the theater was, this is a concession stand. They're standing behind it. The auditoriums are in that direction. And this door is a door to the parking lot. So this is out of the building. So you see them on video, they're looking as they hear the shots. Here's the door to the parking lot. What do you think these 2 juveniles did when they heard the shots? They just ducked and just stayed there. We'll talk about why that happens a little later. Okay, we had shootings, again, in malls all over the country, and again in malls. Now at churches, right? Who would have thought? At a church where most people think, okay, this is sacred, this is a church. You guys remember the shooting at the South Carolina church, the Baptist church, and the one in Sutherland, Texas, where, it's a play on words, but Nothing is sacred, even at churches. Active shooting events happen, 9 and 26 killed. Throughout the world, you got to remember the Paris attacks. Now I bring this up because look at this date here. This is November 13, 2015. You guys remember when they did the coordinated attacks in Paris? There was an explosion at the stadium. There was a shooting down in the downtown area. Then there was a shooting at a concert. It was coordinated attacks. Now while this is happening, there is a city, a municipality, where co-workers or workers are in the lunchroom and they're watching this CNN put these attacks. And there is a city employee watching this and says, you know what? I'm glad that it's happening. Paris deserves that. What they've done to my fellow Islamic believers, that's going to happen to this country, and it needs to happen here because the U.S. needs to learn in the foreign policy, and goes on to spot all this stuff. Well, 19 days later, look at the date, 19 days later, that city worker comes back with his wife to a city function where they were having a holiday work party and kills 14 of his fellow city municipal workers. Right? If you see something or hear something, you need to say something. No one did when he was talking about this. Again, 19 days later, he comes back and makes good on his promise or threat. Here, people thought it was an active shooter drill. Okay, and they were like, oh, okay, it's an active shooter drill. It's an impromptu active shooter drill. Another thing here that we also learned again, plain dead does not save you. They were shooting people when they were on the ground, walking up to them, making sure that they were dead, shooting them standing right over them. If you guys remember, they went on a chase, and this is their car when it was shot up by cops. Now, council women, I know you're here, but at council chambers, now I know we always have Officer De Jesus there and Officer Janine, and we have plenty of officers there. This is why I bring this up. Here, there was an officer, kind of like how we do at this council meeting. The bad guy sneaks up right behind the officer, shoots him in the back of the head, and then goes and shoots a couple of councilmen and the mayors and murders 6. So just because there are armed police officers present does not mean that you can just forget about your surroundings and you don't have to be vigilant, okay? You can't. You must always be vigilant, no matter what. And then we're almost finished with these.
Hey, Todd, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you want to take a break to show that other video? Will's going to work on it. Should be able to get the video working for you for the council meeting.
I will.
Okay.
We're going to get there, and then I will.
All right, then we'll take a break. We can fix that.
Now, the Las Vegas shooting. The deadliest shooting in our nation's history, Las Vegas. You guys remember a guy rents a hotel and begins to shoot people. And then we're talking about Florida. Orlando, the second deadliest shooting, the Pulse nightclub. When the Pulse nightclub shooting happened, people were inside. What do you think they thought the shooting was? Part of the music, fireworks. Oh wow. We'll talk about these type of errors little while. Okay? And Parkland, voted the 11th safest city in the United States. A lot of cities in the U.S., hundreds. Number 11, safest city, yet the deadliest high school shooting in our nation's history. And there were some warning signs here too. You guys remember, security officer sees him with what appears to be a rifle bag, doesn't warn anybody. The FBI had received tips. Their follow-up was questionable. So we'll talk, again, these are mistakes that were made. And the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting, you guys remember the guy boards a flight, I believe it was from Portland, gets his gun out of luggage or check baggage, goes to the bathroom, he comes out to the baggage claim and begins to shoot people. So now, and it's happened locally, and some of us have been able to watch the video. Obviously they're a local agency, so we have pretty good friends up there. So I've seen the video, and the shooting begins where the gunman comes out of the bathroom. He goes to the baggage claim. There's an elderly gentleman and 2 other people next to him. He walks up to the elderly gentleman and shoots him in the head. That gentleman, really had no chance. There were 2 people standing next to him. What do you think they did when they saw that? That's what they did. It's on camera. Okay. To which, obviously, he just walked over, shot, and shot. We'll talk about that phenomenon in a little bit. Most active shooter incidents do not happen in educational places. They happen in places of commerce. So don't think that they only happen at universities or high school. No, places of commerce. this status, I have the new slides, that is almost 50% of active shooter incidents happen in places of commerce. Okay, this video is playing, so I think we're back in business, Chief. So now, I'm going to show you guys a video. This is an actual shooting. It is a school board meeting, and you see the superintendent giving the meeting, and you're going to see what happens. What happens is, actually, you'll see the shooting. Now, this is a school board. What state do you think this happened in? What state?
Texas.
Oh, what's the theme? Florida. Of course, Florida. It's happening in the Panhandle. Not an active shooter incident, but there's some lessons learned. So let's watch the video. So here's the superintendent.
We have there, and as part of the plan we have, the workshop we're going to have following this meeting, but this will be the first step in that whole process.
The guy walks in with a gun, says, "I have a motion." Now he's spray painting the wall. He says, "Everybody in this room, get out." Right? He says it. But look what everybody does. Right? He didn't say pretty please. Only one person says, "All right, I'm out of here." He didn't say pretty please, so he has to say it again. Everybody else will get out. Okay? Don't forget, grab your purse, make sure your makeup is in there, take your time. It's all right, okay? You know, waving at the guy.
Hey, sir. John, just let him talk. He's talking. John, go ahead.
Okay, now watch over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's a good idea to walk in the direction. After you left, to come back and walk in the direction of the guy with the gun. That's always a good idea. Say hi. She wants to get a good look at him from the top. His wife was fired by the school board, and now he's coming back to say, okay, revenge time.
Can we talk for a minute? Just order with the person. May I ask you a question?
I'm going to die
May I ask
today.
you a question? Sir, no. Back in January.
Say you guys were in my
I was in the
show, like in June, whatever.
Elementary. John, get out.
You see, our benefits are running out. We're broke. You see what I'm saying?
It hurt, and I've got a feeling that what you want is the cops to come in and kill you because you're mad, because you see you're going to die.
I'm going to die today, he says.
But why? This isn't worth it. This is a problem. Please don't. Please don't. Please.
I know.
Okay, everybody, take out your cell phones. Take out your cell phones. We're going to do an interactive poll. I promise I don't gather your phone numbers. I don't sell your phone numbers. Used in university. It's very safe. Okay, we're going to do an interactive poll. Grab your cell phones. All right, so I want you to text. Here's a phone number you're going to text to. So you're going to send a text, and the phone number is 22333. 22333. That is a phone number. Now, when you put that in the body of the text, I want you to type. It doesn't have to be all caps as long as it's together. Angel Rivera 626. So again, the phone number is 22333, and in the body of the text, Angel Rivera 626, all together. It doesn't have to be all caps. Angel. Now, when you send that, you should get welcome to active shooter session. Let me see if anybody's gotten that yet. The phone number is 22333, and in the body, Angel Rivera 626. Send. Got it? Where it says welcome to active shooter session or what have you. Okay. We'll wait a little bit because we're going to do a couple of these, and I want as many people to participate. Okay. Okay. The phone number. Okay. The phone number is 22333. Okay, then in the body of the text, Angel Rivera 626.
Is
I'm
that
sorry?
I have Angelina Lim.
You're good. Okay, now that you've joined, once you get the invite, here's the question that we're going to answer with our phones. During the incident you just saw, right, the shooting, other than the shooter doesn't count. Other than the shooter, how many people were shot? And when I mean shot, I don't mean killed, I just mean that they were struck by a bullet one way, shape, or form. Any way, shape, or form. Other than the shooter, how many people? Now, if you think it was 3 people, you text A. If you think it's 4 people, text B. Okay, answers are coming in now. If you think no one was shot, you text D. All right, we'll give the poll about 10 more seconds. Okay, just give the last opportunity for everybody to join. The phone number is text 22333. That's the phone number.
Give me that number again.
22333. 2 2s and 3 3s. That's the way I remember it. Okay, and then in the body, Angel Rivera 626 all together.
Anybody help? I'll tell you around.
Hit send. We get the invite. Sometimes for Androids, it can be a little troublesome.
Angel, we're on. Can we text it now?
What's that?
We're on. Angel, we're there.
Okay, now, if you think 3 people were shot, you text A. Think 4 people shot B. 3 people 2 people C. No one D.
I'm on Android, it's not like it.
Yeah, I know, Android is sometimes.
Well, it's not open.
All right, so here we go. So the answer, okay, so let's see, 58% of you guys thought it was 3 people, and then we have an even with 21% who thought it was 2 people. Well, the answer is D. No one was shot there. All right, no one was struck by the bullet other than the shooter. Let me tell you guys what happened. So you guys remember, right? He goes up, I'm going to die today, and goes like this, right? And he shoots, right? And you see the superintendent, right? He gets the Best Academy Award for Best Actor, right? Because he grabbed his chest and falls down. He wasn't struck. It struck the wooden desk in front of him. So he goes down, but not hit by a bullet. Then you see the bad guy starts to walk forward. And remember, he goes like this, right? That's because it's not like the North Miami where our response time is great. The police finally get there, and it was actually, I edited the video, it's more than 6 minutes long. And as soon as the cops get there, they begin to shoot at him, rightfully so. So you see he goes like this, and he starts to move down the dais, and he shoots towards the very end, but doesn't hit anyone. Now, why is that important? You know, we have a couple of firearm instructors here. Folks, hitting someone with a firearm or striking someone with a firearm shooting is it's not easy. It's extremely difficult. Firearms instructor will tell you we have some officers that we have to train for them to be able to strike targets. Now, of course, you're going to say, but wait a second, then why is it so many people die in active shooter incidents? I will tell you, I said it once before. The average shot in an active shooter incident is 1 to 3 feet. Okay, that's why they're so deadly. Okay, the anomaly or the exception to that was Las Vegas, where the guy was, hundreds of yards away, but there were more than 20,000 people. It's like, hate to say it, but like fish in a barrel. You can't miss. Why is that? Why is it good for us as far as survivability if it's difficult to shoot someone? Because it increases our chances of surviving, especially if we create distance in a shooting, which we'll talk about later. Now, a couple things. You guys remember you had to say, everybody leaves twice. Talk about that, right? You have to say pretty please. Lady with the purse, right? Leaves, okay, my makeup here, good, okay. Right? See the lady who comes back, leaves and comes back, okay? Now let's talk about the lady who attacked him, okay? We'll talk about, if you're going to execute a plan, we got to execute it, but we're going to have some technique and we got to see it through. God bless her heart, we give her an A for effort. You saw he was turned around for 11 seconds, and what did the other guys do? Right? We'll talk about that. Now, you don't have to believe this, you can Google this. That purse that she used sold on eBay for $14,000. All right. Let me try the other side. Okay, so guys, now we're coming to the end of part number 1. You guys see what I'm getting at? Active shooter incidents occur and can occur and have occurred everywhere, even at police stations. They have 2 in Dallas. Churches, okay, synagogues, where there are elementary school kids, at movie theaters, at army bases. Okay, we have to shake this mentality, but that always happens someplace else. It's not a matter of, when it's going to occur. Fortunately, they're going to continue to occur. It's just a matter of where, and you have to be prepared, okay? You have to shake that mentality of, no, I'm good. No, we have to have a plan. And we're gonna take literally a 5-minute break. We got some refreshments and some snack bars in the back, okay? And then we'll be back for part number 2. Literally 5 minutes.
Earlier, when you were speaking and you were demonstrating in front of Jessica about the ratio to the distance, you said, what, 1 to 3 feet?
1 to 3 feet.
Okay, but that's not always necessarily the case, isn't it? When it have to do with automatic rifles, they don't really need to have to get that close to the individuals, right?
Well, but there's still a sense of accuracy. It's still very difficult, even with an automatic rifle. The difference at the auto, I won't get too technical. Yes, it's easier to shoot someone from a distance with an automatic rifle because get real scientific here. Because the trajectory is flatter, the round travels faster, you have more points of contact, which allows you to keep the platform steadier. But the statistic is still a fact. Taking Las Vegas out of it, which is an anomaly, the distance 1 to 3 feet, it is still very difficult when you create distance to shoot someone.
So in Columbine and another school shooting, were they just, automatic, or was it like single shot?
Okay, so you have different, now, lately, and we'll talk about this later, you guys know what the weapon of choice for active shooter incidents are. What is it? An AR-15. That has been the trend. Now, what makes those deadlier? Okay, number 1, they go through walls better. They travel farther. I can shoot faster with them. I don't have to I carry more rounds. That's why they become deadly and deadlier. I'm not going to start a whole gun debate, but there's reasons why those are deadlier. But still, the fact is 1 to 3 feet. And the principle is we're going to create distance, and we'll talk about that later. Okay? Now, I'm going to play a video that I wanted to talk about earlier. Okay? This is from the Virginia Beach, which happened earlier this year. It was just playing 30 seconds ago. Hold on.
Tonight, it is Virginia Beach. We're coming to you with the worst kind of breaking news imaginable. John Berman here in for Anderson. Tonight, our hearts go out to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where police say a city employee opened fire in a municipal building and took at least 11 lives before police took his. 6 more people are in the hospital. The city, needless to say, is in shock. And this is all unfolding moment by moment in the words and images we all think we are so familiar with until it happens where we live. And it is happening where we live. Tonight, it is Virginia.
Okay, what were the last 6 words he said?
It is happening where we live.
It is happening where we live. And remember I told you guys about putting a microphone in someone, in the face of someone after a tragic incident. What is it they say? Okay, this is after Virginia Beach.
Yep.
You have seen this around the country, and now it's come all across the country, and now it's come here.
It's just surreal, and like I said before, you see this on the news all the time, and you just, you pray for people, and you just hope that they're okay, but you never think it's going to happen to you. But when it happens to you, it's just a totally different experience, and you think about your family, you think about like everybody that you know, just pray that they're safe.
Okay, she said it. You think it's not going to happen to you when it's happening to you. So again, hoping is not a strategy. Okay, it's good for us to have positive thinking and things of that sort, but we must have a plan. We must have a strategy. Okay, so now let's go to part 2. I'm going to start that with a video that will play now. Okay, we did our poll. Okay.
Hello, Michael, for emergency.
Yeah, I think there's a shooting on.
We'll give it a couple minutes. Can you find the perpetrator? The number
No, not ready to fight.
Can you tell me where you are? How many people? Can you see the perpetrator? Can you see the guy with the gun? Are you inside or outside? Hello? Hello? Can you pick up? Hello?
Hello?
Can you tell me where you are?
Hello?
Can you tell me where you are?
The shooting in school!
Where is it?
Come on, not a fucking shooter! Just a fucking cop!
Did you see her fall?
I fell down!
Ain't good, Dad. Really doesn't matter now. They're gonna die.
There's 2 people. Man.
Who's dead?
There's 2 shooters, man.
What's that mean, people? Yeah.
Hello, can you pick up?
Hey, little buddy. How you doing, little buddy? No, hold up. I got a phone call here. Hold on. Any last words? Come on. I'm Ray.
Andre? Andre? Can you pick up?
Hey, everybody! Bye.
7 people in the room. Got some help possible. Shot fired. Got the phone?
Shut up!
Okay. So, did it matter that there was a human being approximately 3 feet away from someone that was sounded like a female, that was begging for their lives, that was trying to connect with another human being? Did it matter to that shooter? The person's on their knees crying. Okay, so again, trying to talk your way out of an active shooter is not going to work. Okay, guys, I'm going to speak crudely here. It is a numbers game. You are nothing but a statistic to them. You mean nothing. They are looking right through you. Talk about your kids and your wife that you're trying to, does not matter. Okay, I want everybody to understand that. We've got some crisis negotiators here, and they're training on telling them active shooter incidents, totally different thing. There's no negotiating. Okay, they're there to kill as quickly as possible. That's it. You are a stat number. Now, I told you before, active shooter events, the break was for about 5 minutes, right? That is the average duration of an active shooter incident, about 5 minutes. Now think about that. If you are in an active shooter incident, I'm sure 5 minutes can seem like an eternity, but it's still 5 minutes. You just have to hold the fort down for 5 minutes, and the good guys will come. They're on their way, so 5 minutes. But again, they evolve very quickly, and usually, like I told you, 80% of the time, one of 2 entities decide when the violence stops, you and the shooter, okay? How that stops or how that ends, okay, we can many times affect that. We'll talk about those techniques later on. So now, here we go. If you ever find yourself in a location when an active shooter incident is occurring, I want you to think of this acronym. I want you to think of the word ABLE. I am able. Many studies have been done on visualizing success and how successful it can be. You have to visualize yourself being successful. I am able. I am going to do this. I am going to survive. I am going to make it home to my kids. Right? We're going to break this down. ABLE. It is like an acronym. You first try to avoid, okay, create distance, evacuate. We'll cover them again in depth. If you cannot, then you barricade and lock down. And lastly, when all else fails, you must engage. And when I say engage, what does that mean? What are we doing? We're engaging the shooter, right? We're fighting for our lives. Okay? Because we just covered, talking your way out of it is not going to work. We have nothing else to lose. Okay? And we'll cover those techniques now. There are tons of documented cases where unarmed civilians have done these techniques and they have survived, even actually subdued and neutralized a shooter without weapons. Okay? There's dozens of those cases throughout the years. So now, Sun Tzu, when your enemy is superior, you evade him. You follow his advice. Best chance. Okay, so let me paint something to you. So you hear gunshots, right? Some of you are going to say, yeah, I've never heard gunshots, sir. I don't know what gunshots sound like. I'm not a gangbanger, so I don't know what gunshots sound like. All right, okay. Okay, you hear a popping sound, right? You couple that with, you see someone running from that direction, screaming, who says gun. You couple that, you see someone from that direction appears to be bleeding, right? Hear glass breaking, right? You put all those things together, Scooby-Doo clues, right? For some of us who are old enough, Scooby-Doo clues to realize that something is going on over there, right? What we cannot do in an active shooter incident is what I'm going to talk about now. So, we must act. As human beings, when we encounter danger, there's a syndrome. It starts with the letters F, 2 words. We're get ready for what and what? What's it called? Fight or flight, right? Now, there is a third F that research shows humans are more likely to actually fall into. Starts with an F. It's what? What is it? Freeze. If you freeze in an active shooter incident, you will die. You cannot freeze. Now let's talk about why that happens. Now again, I'm not going to get into a religious debate. Let's just say scientists believe in our less evolved days, we realize that as smaller creatures, that predators were attracted, their eyes are attracted to movement. So therefore, whenever we saw, I know dinosaurs weren't contemporary with us, but it makes the story go with them, right? When we saw the dinosaur that was about to eat us, we would freeze, hoping that the dinosaur would not see us and go by. Okay. Now, let's go back to that scenario of the gunshots and the people screaming and people bleeding, running from that direction, right? So what do you do in that case, right? We go investigate and make sure we find out what's going on, right? That's what we're gonna do.
No.
You guys ever watch thriller movies? It's like a cliche. You see a bunch of juveniles drinking on the beach by a bonfire, and one of them hears a noise in the woods, right? And what do they say? Oh, let's go check that out, right? What happens to that character, right? So the scene again. So, guys, no need to check anything out. Okay? Now, you must act. Let's talk about type 1 and type 2 errors. I talk a lot about this in SWAT. Type 1 is called a false positive. What's a false positive? Let's go back to the wilderness and my dinosaur example. It comes from our less evolved days when we were going through the wilderness and we would see the bushes shake and we would say, oh my God, it's a dinosaur coming to eat me, and we would run away. It's called a false positive. We thought it was something, but it turned out to be nothing. It turned out to be the wood. False positives are okay. What we cannot have is what we call a type 2 error. It's called a false negative. You're in the woods, you see the bushes shake, and you say it's the wind, and now it's a dinosaur. You thought it was nothing, and it turned out to be something. So let's go back to our example. So you hear shots and people screaming, and you run away and you alert all your coworkers, hey, there's a shooting, and it happens to be fireworks or a car that just backfired. Okay, they're gonna laugh at you for a little bit, but guess what? It's a false positive, it's a type 1 error, it's okay. Better safe than sorry. You cannot freeze. Okay, now, stay calm. Okay, now, easier said than done. You know how you're able to stay calm in a very chaotic and stressful situation? By training, by having thought about it before, by visualizing yourself, what would I do if I were there, okay? That's when it's easier to stay calm. Because guys, what happens to our bodies when we don't stay calm and our hearts raise past 140, what we call conditioned grade in training? What do you think happens to our cognitive or critical thinking skills? They're gone, okay? We fall into what we call the lizard brain. We start thinking in the back of the brain, and we are just, we can't think. What happens to our fine motor skills as the blood is rushing away to major muscles? What happens? You guys see the cliche of usually it's a female who's running away from the killer and can't get her keys? That is a true phenomenon, okay? Because you don't have any blood here, and your fine motor skills are gone. Officers in shooting suffer what we call auditory exclusion, where your hearing is gone. They won't hear gunshots that are right next to them because all your senses shut to give you senses to give your eyes the best, the full attention. What happens to our peripheral vision? It becomes tunnel vision, right? We're looking at our threat. So if you can't control your heart rate, now again for you fitness people are kind of looking at me funny, wait, I get my heart rate up to 160 when I'm working out. Let me just say there's a difference between exercise-induced elevated heart rate, or tachycardia, as opposed to fear-induced. Totally different, okay? And you will lose all your faculties. Now, how is it better? How can you stay calm? Training, visualizing, having a plan. That's why we're talking about this. Evacuate. You're inside. You hear gunshots coming from somewhere in the building, and there's an exit right next door. You need to evacuate, right? You're in your office, you have an exit door, and you have to do this without delay, right? I know you've been working on that PowerPoint all day. Let me save ads before I get out of here, right? None of that, right? The lady with the purse, okay, make sure all my makeup. We have incidents where people have jumped out 2 and 3-story windows, broken legs, but they've survived. People down trash chutes, they've survived. In the Virginia, there was a Navy Yard, Virginia, people went to the roof, and that's where they evacuated. You have to evacuate without delay. Now, you try to take people with you, okay, and warn people, hey, let's go, there's a shooting, there's a shooting, there's a shooting. What's the first name?
Jessica.
Okay, but, and I'm gonna tell Jessica, maybe a couple times, depends how much I like her, right? At some point, Jessica may be that type of person who does what? Freeze. Jessica. Exactly, right? Doing deuces and we're out, okay? Unless there are children. I'm sorry, Jessica, you know. Click on your name, I promise.
Okay.
But you guys understand what I'm saying. We are going to try to warn people, you know, people with headphones or headsets. There's a shooting, move. But we're only going to do so much. Now, when we evacuate, use cover. You guys saw the video we just shot at the high school shooting where you saw the students running one direction, and then what happened? Right? Okay, if you ever hear gunshots inside a building, they're going to bounce off walls, and it's going to be hard to tell where the shooting is coming from. So when you're evacuating a building, if you're in the interior building and you choose to evacuate, you have to do so systematically, okay? If you're coming to the end of a hallway, right, this is the end of the hallway because my exit is this way, okay, it's not a good idea to just come running and turn this left on this hallway because I could be turning into what? Okay? This takes half a second for you to reach the end of the hallway, peek, and then it's clear, and then I'm going to move. And if a more advanced technique is what we call bounding. I'm here, and if I'm in a hospital, there's a medicine cart or a copy machine over there. I'm going to move to that copy machine. I'm going to run there, bound there, then I'm going to look at my next vantage point, and I'm going to move. That's called bounding. Okay? You can't just run through the building and not know where we're going to. In fact, what do you think the shooter at Parkland did to get people out of the classroom? You guys know what he did. What did he do? What did he hit? Okay, so now teachers are taught to do exactly what we just talked about. When there is a fire alarm, teacher goes to the door, hallway, hesitates. All right, let's go, fire alarm. They no longer just leave, okay, because of that. Now, call 911. It's quite evident, but remember, an active shooter, it is a time game. He's on the clock. He wants to kill people as quickly as possible before the cops get there and ruin everything. We have to get the good guys on their way. So the quicker we call 911, the more advantageous the survivability, increases of this incident. Now, what are the 3 most important things in real estate?
Location.
Okay, and an active shooter is location. Whenever you call 911, location of the shooter is the most important thing. What he's wearing and all that, yeah, that's cool. So as we tell our officers, you know who the active shooter is? The guy with the gun shooting people, okay? Very easy to figure out. So location is the most important thing. Now, if you're good with weapons and you can say, hey, he also has an AR-15, location. In the same Navy Yard shooting that I showed you, it was like a 60-acre lot, and the only way the cops found where the building the shooting was happening is the security guard went to the roof and was waving at a police chopper. Location, and the cops were just going in every building trying to find where the shooting was occurring. Now, so we hear shooting, and that's our only exit, and we know the shooting is that way. We can avoid. Now enable, what's the next 2 letters? Barricade and lockdown. So now we have to do what if we can't avoid? We have to find a location, okay, and tried to hide, right? That is our next line of defense. So, now, we learned from Sandy Hook that you just running into a room is not going to cut it. You have to barricade and fortify and lock down this location. Now, we're going to do things like turn off the lights, silence our cell phones. Why do we do that?
So you don't hear your cell phone.
What's that?
So you don't hear your cell phone.
Okay, and why are we turning off the lights?
So that they don't see you.
Okay, I'm going to quote Sun Tzu again. Warfare is about deception. It's just a small ruse. Remember, what does he have to shoot? What does he want to find? Victim. Does he want to maybe go into a room where he doesn't think anyone is there because the lights are off? It's just a little ruse to, hey, move someplace else. Stay away from this room. So we're going to turn off our cell phones, not to give the location away, and we're going to turn off the lights. Now, we can still call 911 and leave open lines, okay, while we're, barricading and lockdown, okay? But you must always think plan B. What does that mean? Okay. Now, is this a good method of hiding?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What intelligence can you gain if you're in this position? Can you see the shooter go by? No. If the shooter came up to you, can you fight him from this position?
No.
Okay. You can't make an escape. You can't make an attack. You can't do anything. We have to think of plan B. Now, I'm going to talk something called the hierarchy of survivability in the ABLE scale. All that means is the closer you are to the top of the ABLE scale, the better chances you have of surviving. Your best chance of surviving is to avoid, to get out of the building. Your second best chance is to barricade and lock down, and your least chance of surviving is to engage. So you may just have to hide, barricade and lock down, like they did in Virginia Tech, long enough for someone to break windows, and then we're moving up and we're avoiding, we're evacuating. Everybody understand that? Where I may just have to hide somewhere to see the shooter go by, and my exit is here, and then I'm going from barricade and lockdown to avoid. I'm moving up the scale. You have to have a plan B. Now, let's do a quick presentation. Now, let's say this is our door, right? Shooter's in this hallway, he's coming in this room. How are we going to barricade this door? How are we going to barricade this door? Anybody? What can we do?
Chair.
Right? Table, chairs, heavy objects, right? We're going to stack as many things as possible in front of this door. Okay, now, I know right now your head should be clicking as about where I work, what filing cabinets I have. These are things that you should already start thinking about, generating a plan. But now, let's say that door opens outward. Okay? What do? Okay, now, if you have nothing, you still stack things in front of it. Now, guys, remember what the mindset of an active shooter is. Want to kill people as quickly as possible. It is a plot. If you stack all this stuff, and there's victims in here, he may just, there are classrooms, or there's rooms ahead. Let me just let this go, because I don't have time to mess around with this maze. But there are better methods of securing a door that opens outward. Okay, I need everybody to stand up real quick. Stand up real quick. Okay, let's work ourselves to the back of the room. Back of the room. Sir. Sergeant Bertalis is going to be our dedicated bad guy system.
Right place, right here, Al.
Any outward opening door, if you stack stuff in front of you, the door is still going to open. So that's a good technique. A better technique is try to prevent the door from opening at all. Now, this works whether you have a doorknob, okay, or a doorknob like we do right here. You would put a belt, you can use a tie, you can use a dress shirt, okay? And we're just going to put the belt around the doorknob, okay? And we're just going to pull, which I'm going to show you guys over there. It works with doors that have the handle like this as well, okay? And even works with these type of doors. Now this door automatically, so we're not going to close it all the way. But I'm going to put the ball here. Okay? So, this door opens outward here. Now, what is more advantageous when you're trying to generate, I guess, pull force? Is it better for me to use my arms or my body weight? Of course, right? But we're actually going to try to use both. You're going to pull with your arms, and you're also going to use your body weight as you sit down, and you're pulling, and you're also using your body weight. Okay. Saw Sergeant Portales has got some guns. It's pretty strong. It's on you. Our lives depend on you holding the door closed. Okay? Let me see your technique. See your technique. Okay, so one hand, we use a tie. Okay, now you want to be closer to the wall. Okay? Okay, now you want to use your body weight, and you're going to pull with your arms. Okay? Okay, stand back up. When I knock, it's going to go. Sarge, you ready? Go ahead, sir. Okay, when I knock, you come in this room, all right? All right, got it. Okay, let's go. Get ready. All right, you can start anytime, bro. Come on now. Come on. All right, all right. Guys, if you use a belt and you're using your arms and your legs and your weight, you have the mechanical advantage. Okay, now think about him. He's an active shooter. How long do you think he wants to stay there? Messing with us? It's like, man, these guys went to that good able course that North Miami Beach. Let me move on, right? To people who didn't. So again, this works with a tie, belt, power cord, a very good leather strap purse, you know, as far as the strap. Okay, all right, let's give her a hand. Woo! Retire. Now think about the mindset, okay, of that officer. Do officers mistakenly shoot people in the U.S., unarmed people, right? Absolutely. Imagine under these circumstances, okay? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. In an active shooter event, when you're evacuating or law enforcement gets there, everyone is a bad guy. Now, I will say this, and I stress this in my training to our officers, there's only been 2 documented incidents where a female active shooter, you know, one of 2 years ago in YouTube in California, the other one where I showed you in San Bernardino where the husband and wife came in and killed everybody. So females inherently get a little bit maybe, you know, less attention, okay, but still, everyone is a bad guy, okay? Be ready to be handcuffed. Be ready to be thrown on the ground. Be ready to be searched. This is not your time to press your rights with this officer. Sir, what is your probable cause for you to come? It's not the time. We train our officers, and we've seen it in video where officers are trying to work themselves through a building, and frightened people are jumping on top of the officer. You know, human nature, they see people here to rescue them now, but if I'm fighting with you because you're jumping on top of me, okay, what are you preventing me from doing? Every time you hear, think about it, an active shooter, every time you hear a popping sound, that is possibly a what? New victim. New victim. A new victim. We train our officers, hey, you get through no matter what. Sorry. Kick, let's go. Hey, out of the way. Okay? But you may be injured, and the initial officers will have to bypass you. If I'm treating you because you have a gunshot wound, okay guys, let's stop. What is happening to my problem? Ripple effect. Ripple effect. And more victims. I cannot do that. Now, we have advanced training now where we're kind of doing 2 things at once. We're sending a team to neutralize the subject. We're sending training officers to apply tourniquets, chest seals, pressures, and things of that sort. So the initial officers may bypass you, and they're going to say, okay, I have a female victim, gunshot wound here down at the 1st floor on the east side stairwell. And they're moving. Now there's going to be another team of officers that are going to deal with that. So just remember, they may have to bypass wounded people. Officers get there. Remember I said that we make mistakes shooting people, okay? Follow instructions. This is what we look at. Officers, hands. Hands, okay? Cell phones and you down and on one and quickly turning around, not a good thing. You see officers there, hands, hands, hands. When you evacuate, hands, hands, hands. When they give you instructions, hands, hands, hands. And I press that because even in training, we have scenarios where we'll have an off-duty officer who's dressed in dress clothes, he's a detective, and we'll have him in the school. He just neutralized the shooter. He's inside the classroom, the shooter's on the ground, and we have the officer, you know the drill I'm talking about, with his badge, and officers will come in that room and will shoot this guy. So imagine if they're able to do that, because again, what happens to us as humans when our heart rates go up? What happens to our vision? Right? So forget that badge. I'm just looking at that gun, and that gun can kill me, so I'm just, oh, wow, you're holding a badge, and you're a tie, and you had your name tag. They didn't see it, okay? Very important. Hands, hands, hands. Now, do people die from gunshot wounds to the arms and legs?
No.
We have, unfortunately, we have a lot of data from their 2 recent wars in Afghanistan and Iraq that yes, people die from gunshot wounds to arms and legs. In fact, that is the most common type of injury that kills us, okay? It's not just, wounds here. A gunshot wound to the arm can kill you, okay? So, we're gonna talk about something here very quickly. Who thinks that if we put on a tourniquet on someone, that person is going to lose their limb? Okay, that is not the case. Okay, it was the case at the turn of the century when, let's say, World War I, you were shot in battle and your encampment was 8 hours away and you had a tourniquet for 8 hours, yes, you were going to lose the limb. This day and age, we can have a tourniquet up to 6 hours and there'll be no, what we call ischemia, there'll be no, no dead tissue and the person can make a full recovery. We tell our officers that we now have equipped with tourniquets. When in doubt, put on a tourniquet. Putting on a tourniquet when not needed, it is an acceptable mistake. No big deal. Not putting on a tourniquet when needed is a deadly mistake. So you put on a tourniquet. Now, I know you guys don't carry around tourniquets. Okay, so what can we use as a tourniquet?
Shoelaces.
Okay, we can use a belt, but it gets a little bit more difficult. Now I'm going to show you guys. I'm not going to make you guys combat medics. Show a technique here. Right?
Anything you guys.
Please. All right, so here we go. Yes, people die from gunshot wounds to arms and legs. Okay, it's not just from from arterial bleeding. You can die from people kill themselves all the time by just cutting their veins. Now this is, and our officers here can attest to this, right? We fortunately have at times gone up to scene where someone is shot. So someone is bleeding. What's the first thing you do to try to stop the bleeding? Everybody knows that. What do we do? Yeah, and we do, right? We come up and we say, "Oh my good, pressure, pressure." And you know what happens, okay? Oh boy. A lot of the time it works. Some officers will tell you that sometimes it doesn't. And you know how you know? Because you feel like someone's tickling your palm because that blood is hitting your palm. You know, it's another clue. All you're gonna see is drip, 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 drip. It's not working. We have to apply a tourniquet. Now, this is a man's dress shirt. Okay, that I cut the sleeve. Okay, I'm going to fold this. Okay, now here's the key. Sorry. It's not going to be too complicated. Here's the key, guys. You guys, just remember, go high or die. Okay, this is how you apply tourniquets. You always go above the wound. And there's only 3 rules. You go above the wound, you avoid knees and elbows, and you never remove the tourniquet. So, if I'm shot here, the elbow's here, I'm going to go above, I'm going to put the tourniquet here. If I'm shot here, I'm going to go 1 or 2 inches above, I'm going to go here. Okay, so lower leg as well. If I'm shot here, I'm going to avoid the knee, I'm going to put the tourniquet here. And I never remove the tourniquet, right? So now I'm going to try pressure, pressure, pressure. Now we're pressure, pressure. Okay, wow. Okay, tourniquet time. Short. I'm going to do an overhand knot like I'm tying my shoes. Okay. pair of scissors, big Sharpies work, big markers work, a ruler will work, a stick will work. This is what we call mischief windlass, which is what we're going to use to tighten this. Okay? And I'm just going to tie another knot. Okay? Right over it. I'm not going to do it here, but she will tell you that how quickly it starts to turn and it hurts. It's starting to hurt, right? Okay? And I'm going to loosen it for a second. And we're going to turn this until the bleeding stops. They're more advanced, we call it check the distal pulse, but you're not going to be able to do that. Just look. You know how it works? The bleeding stops. The key is once we turn and we stop, we cannot loosen it. And this has to stay on her. Now, we can be creative. Okay, I can give me your shoelaces. Give me your shoelaces. I can tie the shoelace to the scissors here, tie it around her arm, and now I can let go. Everybody visualize that or see that? Yes. Okay? And now she's able to move on her own. I don't have to say like this. If I don't have anything, I'm going to have to stay with it. Okay? Because this cannot come off. You make things worse. You guys seen the movie First Blood Rambo where the sheriff tells, hey, Billy, put on a tourniquet and loosen it every 15 minutes. That's no good. Okay? And we note the time that we put on the tourniquet. We should be able to write it on the person, okay? Because she and I may get separated. When she gets down to write her trauma, what have you, them knowing how long it's been on determines what type of medication they give her to bring this back to normal. I got that? So it's 4 things, I guess. Okay? Above the womb, okay? Avoid knees and elbows, never take it out, and note the time. Everybody got that? Yes. All right. Give her a hand. Thank you. Uh-oh, that on so tight. Okay, now, everybody back to your polls. Got your phones. You don't have to sign in again. You should be on. Okay, here's a question. In the course of performing their duties, police officers are involved in hundreds of shootings every year. Every round/bullet discharged from an officer's firearm must be accounted for. We go investigate, we see where every single round went. How often do these highly trained police officers miss? Okay? Not showing up. Let me see. You know what? Poll was down for some reason. Okay, let's just, how often do you think police, give me a percentage. How often do you think police officers miss when they shoot their firearms? Give me a percentage. 60? Anybody? 70? 70?
One round?
No. If I shoot, we count every round. If I shoot 10 rounds, how many are going to hit my target? Okay? 79, we miss 79% of the time. Almost 80%. No. Remember what I said earlier, right? It's not easy to shoot someone. It's not easy to hit a target. Not like in the movies where it's like, it's hard. I mean, not in North Miami, but I've trained other officers. And sometimes the safest place to stand in front of an officer is right in front of them, okay? Some guys at the range, they're that bad, okay? But that's good, right? That's good for us when we talk about survivability. Okay, now, I'm going to clap my hands here because it's going to be a little bit abstract and we're going to go, okay. This is called the OODA loop. Guys, what I'm about to show you guys, it is no exaggeration. It is taught to Special Forces, Navy SEAL Team 6. We teach it to our SWAT teams. It is called the OODA loop. OODA, it is an acronym. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. What that describes is how we as humans respond to stimuli. We go through this OODA loop 1,000 times a day. I'll give you guys an example. All right, Chief Jariga is no longer here, but let's say, obviously, he's our boss. We have some new recruits, okay? Let's give him a hand. North Miami guys, all right? Go to the academy, right? So Chief Jariga is their boss, and I'm sure they will want to make a good impression on Chief Jariga. So let's say I'm giving this presentation, and they're supposed to be paying attention, right? It's good employees. But, let's say I'm boring them, and then they decide to get on their phones. So this is how the OODA loop works. Okay, I'm on my phone, and all of a sudden I hear a clacking sound, clack, from that direction. Okay? I know from years of hearing doors, I orient where the sound is coming from, I move my head, I look, I observe, I orient what it is, I decide to wait and see what it is, and I act and do nothing. Then that door opens, recycled. I observe again, I see it's a human, it's a male, I orient even further, not only it's a male, oh, that is Chief Jariga, okay, this is happening all like this. I decide that I don't want to lose my job since I just got it, and I act by putting my cell phone away and pretending like I'm paying attention to Assistant Chief Jariga, right? See how I went through the OODA loop? I'll give you guys a more classic example. I'm driving, I'm in my car, I see a car in front of me. The lights in that car all of a sudden just got brighter. I observe, they got brighter. I orient. From my years of driving, that means what? That car is doing what?
Braking.
Slowing down. I decide that I don't want to crash today, so I act by taking my foot off the accelerator and act again by pressing the accelerator. That's how the OODA loop works. Now, why is it important? In battle, you and your enemy go through the OODA loop. Whoever goes through it the fastest wins. If you could do things to get your opponent stuck in the OODA loop, you have the advantage. We do it all the time, especially in instances where the odds are against you. We do it in SWAT, and I'm not going to give away any trade secrets. Okay, the most difficult situation in a SWAT standoff is what we call a hostage rescue. Okay, husband and wife. Sorry, husbands are usually the ones that get violent. He takes his wife hostage, right? He is in his house. Does he know the layout of his house better than the cops? Yes. He's in his house. He's in his bedroom. There's only one door that he knows we're going to come in through, and he has a hostage. All he has to do is succeed, is squeeze his trigger, and we somehow, as a SWAT team, have to rescue her life. You think the odds are against us? Yes. Yes. And we use techniques, which I'll give you a couple of the OODA loop, to help us to slow down his OODA loop. Again, I need some trade secrets, but we'll do distractions. We'll have a siren go by at the same time, glass, a window breaking on this side, where he has to orient, observe, decide, act. Okay, what is that? While that's happening, there's going to be a projectile that's going to come inside. Okay, what is that? What is that? Orient, decide, act. Then 180 decibels from that concussion grenade are going to go boom! He's going to have to, oh my God, what is it? Orient, his loop is getting reset. By that time, if we're good, we're on him. We're neutralizing him, or we're neutralizing him. Okay, that's how the OODA loop works. Okay, so yes, ma'am.
Do you always go in that order, or can somebody do orientate and then act?
No, remember, you have to see it or hear it to be able to orient and know what it is. You always go in that order.
And does an active shooter always go in this, or they orientate and then they start shooting?
No, it's, remember, they observe a new victim, they orient, that's a new victim, they decide, I want to kill that person, and they act by pull the trigger, and it just resets. In a fight, okay, you throw a punch at me, I have to orient, observe it, orient that that's a punch coming here, I have to orient and decide, I don't want to get hit by it, I have to act and dodge, okay? We go through it, okay? Now, sir? So guys, this is not a real firearm. Not a real firearm. Okay. Turn around, face this way. Okay.
Got it.
Step forward. All right. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
This is the Buddha loop at work. Now, his directions are simple. Quickly turn around, engage 3 targets. 1, 2, 3. Do not stop till you're done. When he turned around, what did he do? Right? And then again, came back. He went through the Buddha loop. He observed objects coming at him, right? He oriented, saw they were coming at him. He decided he wanted to get hit by them, so he went back. They hit him, right? Yeah. He took him a little bit to orient. Okay, they're not throwing bricks at me. I'm not going to get hurt. Okay, and then he was able to finish. But think about how accurate he's going to be if he's doing this. Coupled with what I told you, that we have officers standing like this, and they can't hit a target. Okay? That's how the OODA loop works. We're resetting. Okay, what is that? What is that? What is that? Okay, it's just little balls. Okay, I can finish. By that time, we've done the advantage. Okay? All right, guys. Thanks. Okay, we're almost done, guys. Here we go. So, throughout this presentation, you have not heard me mention the name of an active shooter. They are cowards, do not deserve our recognition. I will talk about these 3 people here. Mr. Bill Badger. You guys remember the shooting with Congresswoman Gifford in Arizona? It was at a shopping center. Well, a 30-year-old man loads a gun and shoots and kills 6 people. Had just put a 30-round magazine into his Glock, ready for round 2, and was tackled by this 74-year-old man. Tackled him to the ground, and then others came to rescue him. Think about how many people he saved, right? Mr. Frank Hall, high school football coach in Ohio. All right, that's for that. High school football coach in Ohio. He's in a cafeteria, he hears shots, he comes out. The student had already killed 3 students. He comes out, he confronts the shooter in the hallway. The shooter shoots at him. Mr. Hall hides behind a vending machine that's in the hallway. He gets an interview in 60 Minutes where he says, I said, I'm not gonna die here, and I have to do something for my students. He gets his courage, and he just comes out and charges the shooter. Classic example of the OODA loop stuck on stupid. The shooter, whoa, this is not supposed to be working this way. I got the gun. OODA loop frozen, charges him. The shooter still had a gun, turned around, fled to school. He actually had another pistol in his waistband. Think about how many students he saved. Lastly, Mr. LeVue Lebreski. He was an engineering teacher in Virginia Tech, where more than 30 people were shot. Remember one of the shootings I did? He is the teacher, he's teaching the class, and he hears the shooting happening, so he goes to the door, classroom door, to look in the hallway, sees the shooting coming. He goes to close the door, the shooter's right on, and they're struggling for the door. The guy with the gun. Students very astute, they start breaking glass. 23 students jumped and were rescued. He's here. Remember what I called this? This is the fatal funnel. The shooter steps back, shoots through the door. Rounds hit Mr. Lebreski. One of them hit him in the head, and he dies. He was a Holocaust survivor, but saved 23 students. Now, oh boy. Now, I'm going to give you guys an acronym. It's WIN. It stands for What's Important Now. We do a lot of critical incident teaching at our police department as we teach our supervisors how to deal with a critical incident. When you have an airplane crash that crashes at 125th Street, how are you going to deal with it? A bomb threat. Now, when we throw all this at supervisors, they could be, oh my God, this is happening. We tell them, hey, listen, when you do what's important now, you break everything down to increments of What do I really need to do next? I'll give you an example. Parkland shooting. A lot of stuff going on. And you had one of the captains who's been recently fired trying to stop traffic and set up a perimeter before officers went inside the school to stop the shooter or deal with students. Stopping traffic and stuff, is that important right now? No. You've got to break it down. This is what we do. Active shooter. We have shots fired over here. I have a door over here, which is my exit. What's important right now? What do I need to do? Exit. Now, I have a shooting over here. I don't have a door here, but I have some classrooms or offices here. What do I need to do? What's important right now? Since I cannot avoid, what I need to do? I need to get inside one of these rooms. I'm inside the room. The shooter's walking down the hallway. What's important right now? What do I need to do to this door? Barricade, right? Locking the doors, the first thing. Now, the shooter is intent on coming into this room. What's important right now? What do I have to get ready for? Engage. Okay, that's what we're going to cover now, but finish it off. So guys, usually we have people from the audience partake in this, but this is kind of like a physical drill, so I talked to our risk manager. She's like, no, we're going to use our guinea pigs right here, right? They're our employees, so we own them, right? We're insured, so we're good, right? So, you guys, okay, this is what I want you guys to do. Now, they have not received, I told you, they've yet to go to the academy, so they haven't received any defensive tactics training. Okay, so this is going to be their introduction to the defensive tactics training. All right. So this is what I want you guys to do. Actually, let me do something first. Anybody here own a firearm? Sir? Elite. It's an airsoft. Okay. It's not a real firearm, guys. Okay. Now, in a fight, what's more effective, action or reaction? Action. Action. Action will always trump reaction. All right, so this is what I want you to do, right? You want a firearm, sir? So you're an avid shot, pretty good shot? Pretty good shot. Let's test these skills. You ready? What I want you to do, I want you to point this firearm at me. You get higher, so it's nice and hard. What I want you to do, when I start to go for this, put your finger on the trigger. I can tell he's trained because he indexed his finger. That's this guy's right. All right. All right. When I start to go for this firearm, I want you to squeeze the trigger. Okay? You ready? I start to go. Squeeze the trigger. Okay? Ready now? Yeah. All right. Just test it. You ready? Okay. Did you get it? No. Yes. You ready? One more time, you know it's coming. It's hard with this tight shirt, trust me. You ready? From here, I will just here. Okay. Now, guys, look at what's happening here, right? Put your finger on the trigger. For him to succeed, all he has to do is move his index finger a quarter of an inch, okay? I, on the other hand, and I made him put it higher so I have to travel. I have to move my arms, travel about maybe 3 feet. You see I blade, I have to control the blade and get away. Now if I painted that picture to you, you would say, no way. I have the action. He has to react to me, okay? You understand how it works? Action will always trump reaction when done correctly. Of course, some technique. Now, I must say this, Councilwoman, and it's on camera, this drill is never, ever, ever, ever to be tried in real life. This is for me to push forth a principle. This is like a robbery drill that we do in defensive tactics, but in real life, you will always, robber comes, you comply. Everybody understand that? Yes. The odds are for you that you will survive. Never to be tried, okay? This is a thing that, oh, sir, please. You're going and I'm taking them, but you guys are never to do that. We have practiced this hundreds of times with projectiles to make sure we're good. You guys are never to try it, all right? Including you, sir. All right, thank you. Action will always trump reaction. So now, this is what we're going to do, all right? We're ending with this. Everybody stand back up. Avi, bring the blue gun, bring the AR. Did you see them going through the school like our SWAT guys, real tactical, looking for strikes? Did you see, right, they were mocking victims. I edited the video, but they got on tables and they started messing around. Do they fear anybody in that? No. Right? They feel like there is Sun Tzu. When your enemy is overconfident, you use that overconfidence against them. They don't think anybody's there going to do it, so we're going to use that overconfidence and we're going to strike like lightning and thunder, as Sun Tzu talks about. So, let's do this here. And face me this way. So, I'm not going to show you guys, hold it. Take your finger off the index. I'm not going to show you guys any Steven Seagal. You don't know Steven Seagal. Remember how he has all the funky techniques and all that? We're not going to do any of that. This is very rudimentary skills that you're going to be able to do. Now, what gives the active shooter his power? That's it, this right here. You that own a firearm, right? Okay. Now, this is what I want to do. I want to control this weapon. Very rudimentary. I just want to grab the slide and push it down, okay? If I do this and she fires, right, what happens?
It's a grab.
Okay. A round goes out, but now what happens to this firearm?
It's still in her hand.
Okay? Okay, without getting too much into firearms, let me go for a second. If I do this, or I hold this, okay, I actually have to now tap and re-rack to get a new round in because I stopped this slide from putting a new round in. It's only in some semi-automatic handguns. Okay, so now, that's all I want to do. Boom, fire, psh, okay? We have officers that in the range, the weapon will malfunction because they'll have it like this and it'll hit their vest, and the same thing applies, and see them trying to shoot, and they're stuck. And these are trained officers. Or we've trained them what to do when you have a malfunction. And you have a firearms instructor that'll get behind them, fix your weapon! Sir, you know, these people in training. I doubt an active shooter is going to have the training to be like, oh, hold on. Okay, we have it. Okay, we already have the advantage. Now, hands and down. Okay? We get the AR. How do you hold it? Okay. Sergeant Cortales was an Army Ranger, so, I'm sorry, you're always an Army Ranger, so he knows how to hold this well. What weapon is now being used for?
The
AR-15, right? This is kind of like an AIM-16. It's a military version of AR-15. Same principle. The only thing is, if I hold this and he shoots, it's going to continue to shoot. Bum, 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 bum. It doesn't jam like that, okay? But look how much surface area there's. It's easy for me to grab this, right? It is, right? So how do we grab this? You can rudimentarily just come and bring it down and control the weapon. The better way is what we call an over and under grip, like if you're deadlifting. Why? Because if one of my hands slips, okay, push it towards me. Push it towards me, dude, come on. See, I have there's no way. I have the mechanical advantage. Pull it away. There's no way. I lock this in. Okay, now, let's talk about acting aggressive. If we have to engage, are there any rules now at this point for the active shooter? No. Or are you guys trying to take him into custody? No. I'm going to say him, because I told you, there are mostly men. Okay, everybody getting upset at me. Okay, are you guys trying to take him into custody? No, we're trying to survive, right? Acting aggressively, our most animalistic instincts have to kick in. I am making it home. It's either him or me, and it's not going to be me. It's going to be you who's going to die, okay? Are there any rules? Improvised weapons. Can I use a pair of scissors and stab him in the neck? Can I use a set of heels and stab him in the eye? Can I get a fire extinguisher and hit him over the head? Any rules here? No. Absolutely not. Okay? Most importantly, we have to work as a team. Okay? In an active shooter incident, usually one shooter, he wants to find plenty of victims. Sun Tzu talks about when your army is bigger in numbers, but your enemy is superior, you divide your army and you attack from different sides. Okay? He's stronger because he has the weapon, we don't. We have the numbers. We're going to use that overconfidence against the enemy. So how do we do it? We're coming into this room. Shooter is coming into this room. Get my trainees. Here we go. Okay, so now, you guys saw shooters aren't going to come in here real tactical. They're going to come in here and say, okay, where are the bodies? We're going to use that overconfidence. This is our point of attack. This is where our surprise element. We have one chance at this, the element of surprise, okay? We have to work as a team, okay? I tell Mike, hey Mike, you get him, right? And he fails, what happens to the rest of us? All right, and we lost our point of attack, okay? We have to work as a team. We're gonna do it with 3, okay? He's gonna be the active shooter. So now, line up here. Okay, line up here. We actually have another blind spot, so one of you line up over here. Every room has a blind spot or major blind spot. That means when you enter, there's a blind spot. This blind spot, this room is here. It's right here against this wall. This is the fatal funnel. We can never stand in front of it. When the shooter comes in, the first person needs to do what? What is their priority? Control that weapon. We got to take care of that. What's important now? Win. We got a lot of things to do, but what's important right now is controlling that weapon. After he controls the weapon, or she controls the weapon, what can the other folks do? Okay?
Kick him in the
Now I will tell you something. As human beings, we're not so good at multitasking, right? My wife says that to me all the time. So here's the thing. Without extensive training, the shooter is going to constantly have to put his energy into one thing. Either keeping this gun because he knows it's the only thing that gives him his power, or staying on his feet. If we accomplish either goal, we're in good shape. If we take the weapon away, hey, if we put him on the ground, we have the advantage. He can't do both, not without extensive training. Either concentrate on keeping the weapon or concentrate on keeping his balance, and not do both. All right. Fortunately, I'm under strict orders not to do any popper rounds, so we're going to keep it PG. All right, here you go, guys. Look, you're going to control the weapon. Let me see you do the technique. Okay, you're going to hold on to it, pushing downward. And if you're going to bring, anybody who played football, if you're going to bring someone bigger down, where do you attack? Legs, right? And if we're going to attack the legs, what is our weak spots in the legs? Knees. The knees, right? I can tell you after 2 knee surgeries, right? We're going, any rules here? There isn't. Okay, now Sergeant Portales is not going to give it up. We're going to go about 75%, but I want you guys to put them on the ground. Avi, don't give it up. Make it work, all right? You guys ready? All right. Here we go. Active shooter, active shooter, active shooter. Okay, very good job. As you guys saw, you control the weapon. The energy is going to bring him forward, which allows attack to come from here, attack from here. Go for the knees, lift, and to the ground. Now, if we have more people, does it say that I can't have a chair and just be ready to bash them over the head as hard as I can? Can I do that? Can I get on a chair and jump up and stomp on his face? Absolutely, guys. It's either you or him, and it's not going to be you. All right? Let's give him a hand. Give him a hand. Let's take our seats. We got 30 seconds. Let's take our seats. That situation, in a very critical situation, chaos, panic, and fear can never really be eliminated. A SWAT guy tells you he's not scared when he's going to go on a mission, he's going through the door, he's lying to you. Yeah, I am a little bit scared, but I have to minimize that fear. And the only way I can do that is knowing that, hey, I've trained for this. I have some skills. Okay? That's why we do this type of training. When you leave now, I hope that you've already thought about, okay, what do I have in my office? What can I use as a weapon? Where are my scissors? Is my door open in and out? How can I lock it? Can I break my window? Is it hurt? Where's my nearest exit? If I had to leave, this is stuff that we need to start thinking about. When you go someplace, you have to, where are my exits? Okay? Pay attention, okay? And that dude just walked in, it's now leaning against the wall, it's 102-degree weather, it's wearing a trench coat. Okay, that's the type of stuff. You have to, unfortunately, it's the world we live in, okay? Now, remember, Sun Tzu, win first. Develop the plan. Visualize what we're going to do. Avoid, barricade and lockdown, and engage. I am able to do this. Any questions, guys? Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know my surroundings. I certainly don't know the people around me to kind of, I mean, when you have time to create a 3 or 4 person, okay, we're going to go and...
Okay, remember, you go through your options. Now, yes, that is very tough, but there's a study, they did it, I forgot what it's called, they did it in London, and I'll just tell you quickly about it, how, what they did is they put someone outside of a subway station, they tried with a female first, and she was complaining of obvious pain, and you see people just walk by. But a crazy phenomenon. The moment one person stopped, everybody would come. Okay. My point behind that is we teach this to our trainers. You have to be the leader there who's going to say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. Stack here, stack here. I'm going to try to grab the weapon. You guys tackle him. That took me 5 seconds, and it's all we have. Grab a weapon, grab a weapon. I mean, it's going to be on you, and hopefully people will follow you. But yes, in a mall, your best bet is, hey, if I just came out that exit, and the gunshots from over here, I'm going to try to avoid. But if all else fails and that's what you're stuck with, you have to be a bit of a commando. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Hopefully you have some willing participants. I would say that's always the case, but still you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that you go home. All right?
In cases where it would be very dangerous to use your voice to make a phone call to 911, is Miami-Dade one of the counties that you can text a 911 emergency to? I know that's like a some county thing, and I just learned about it myself.
I don't believe so.
Facebook Messenger. You have a Facebook?
911, and we prefer you have an open line, okay? Because the moment we know there's an incident somewhere and we get multiple calls, yes, there's something called latitude and longitude where we're able to pinpoint and we know, okay, there's something going on here. We have X number of, even if nothing's coming through, and we're going to send officers there. So just, I would dial 911 and leave an open line. Okay, if I'm able to whisper, I mean, all you have to say with regard to the gun, I mean, you can do that as well.
That'll keep your phone from ringing too.
Yeah, you got to silence your phone. Thank you. Well, guys, listen. This is all our information. Instagram. My name is Rivera. Councilwoman Keys will tell you I'm available. If you guys have any questions, if I or anyone in our police department can ever be of a resource, please do not hesitate to contact us. We always call you back. We will, whatever service we can provide you. I thank you for allowing me to speak to you guys today. And that's it. Good night.